welcome everybody. Now we know that America has turned red this election season as Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has clinched most of the states. Now this will have an impact across the globe, but we have Ravi Mishra here with us from the Indian Express to explain how this is going to impact India. Now, Ravi, let's get into the discussion. And my first question to you is that Trump recently branded India as a very big trade abuser. Now, how do you see Trump's presidency influencing India's approach to tariffs, particularly?
So we had seen a very aggressive behavior when Trump was in his first term. He had launched multiple tariff wars towards towards the friendly nations as well as China, which is seen as a unfriendly country. So there were tariffs that were imposed on aluminum and steel, and which affected us, and it created a broader tit for tat retaliation by India. So there is expectation that if Trump comes back, India will be among the top countries which he would be targeting, for the simple reason that our tariffs, our market is still very high tariff, uh, which means that we are very careful about what we are importing, how much we are letting the goods come into our country, because we are a developing country. We are not we have not reached the level that China is or the US is. So we are careful about a lot of things, and that gives Trump the impression that we are highly protectionist and we are stopping American goods from coming into our country. So that has been his problem number one with India. He has cited multiple companies. Most recently, he talked about Harley Davidson not getting proper access in India, which resulted in the company packing up their bags and basically shutting shops in India. So there will be more tariffs, but he is very unpredictable. So only time can tell.
So, do you think, can you tell us something about how India will probably respond to this?
Uh, India's response had initially been retaliatory. We did not, let this by the tariffs, the steel, the imposition of 25% on steel and 10% on aluminum. We did not let it go. And there was something really interesting that we did. We imposed tariffs on American um, agricultural products, which is considered to be Trump's base. All these rural areas in America, they were affected because of Indian tariffs, and that later on became a negotiating chip. And then India was able to settle that dispute under Biden, of course. But that dispute continued when Trump was in office. So now that Trump is back, mm, we perhaps the only effective means is to retaliate, and then and then negotiate where we can compromise, where we could benefit. That is the game that perhaps India will also have to play.
So basically, these are the specific sectors where India could leverage its position to, negotiate more balanced terms. Okay.
Yes.
Now, let's move on to the point where Trump had recently blocked, when he was the president, he had blocked the World Trade Organization dispute resolution process, which had created tensions in the trade world earlier. Now, keeping this in mind, do you think this is going to happen again?
So, Trump's first term was largely seen as America walking out from the World Trade Order that it created.
Yeah.
America championed this liberal free trade arrangement across the world. America's tariffs were low, so Indian products would also, easily uh, come into America, and and including others like Chinese or other countries. What he did with WTO changed everything. I mean, there's a book by a Harvard professor uh, that came out in November, and the title of the book is "Walking Out." You know, America walking out of the World Trade Order. So that this is how the world is seeing um, Trump and America under Trump. Uh, Now that he basically strangled the WTO, what possibly could happen next is very tough to predict because the the WTO is dysfunctional. Nobody can get an order or a resolution at the moment. So he, in all probability, will continue to force WTO to reform that helps America. It has not been doing so for a long time. About 90% of the cases that other countries filed against America, America kind of lost those cases. So there's a lot of angst in American businesses. There's a lot of angst among American people on losing their jobs and market to Chinese and to a very small extent Indian products. So he is going to make sure that Americans also get access to different markets, including India.
Mhm. Do you think under Trump there can be a restoration of GSP benefits for India?
It is highly unlikely because he was the guy who took away GSP benefits. GSP is something that was symbolic of what America stood for, especially for the developing nations. It came out of the whole GSP program, came out of UN resolution, which talked about developed nations kind of hand holding developing nations, and it was one way how America helped a lot of developing nations to come out of poverty, come out of their challenges, and give them a market in America. you know Trump kind of broke that promise. It was a it was a historic move to do that against India, who India was the largest beneficiary, about 5.7 billion worth of our products, from textiles, from machinery, from different sectors, especially labor intensive sectors, used to get into America tariff free. That is a huge advantage. That is a massive advantage for small retailers, sorry, small manufacturers, MSMEs. you know if he is the one who has taken away, it is very difficult to you know uh, consider India getting back GSP under him. Perhaps there will be another deal that we reach out with US under Trump, but certainly not GSP, because also GSP is now, you know, the decision on GSP will come from US Congress. So there is a very convoluted way in which, if we were to get GSP, it'll be very difficult.
Okay, now for our viewers, if you can briefly tell us about what are India's PLI schemes and are they effective in counteracting high tariffs on imports and enhancing domestic production competitiveness, and especially if Trump reimposes tariffs?
Okay. So we'll first have to understand why we are a high tariff country and why PLI is in place. Every developing country, or every developed country at some stage of their growth have had high protection. High tariffs is, pretty much high protection for your domestic industry. Now we have PLI in force. We have 14 sectors where we are trying to concentrate and build production capacity, which was not the case earlier. These are sensitive sectors. These are laptops. These are mobile phones, which where we could lose a lot of data, or we could be, there could be a national security threat if systems and mobile phones are coming from elsewhere. Same with clean energy and a lot of other sectors. So we are a high tariff country at the moment because we are trying to build domestic capacity, and this is what um, US or every other country is not liking, because everybody is fighting for manufacturing jobs. you know and when Trump says that tariffs are creating problems for American business, what he is actually saying is that you are taking away our jobs. And he will not be very um, you know, he's not in a position, or he's not going to let those tariffs stay. He's going to make sure that we lower our tariffs like America has lowered its tariffs. So there'll be a lot of negotiations and changes going forward.
Then can you expand now on how high inflation in the US would affect specific Indian export sectors like textiles and pharmaceuticals?
Okay. So one of the things that a lot of experts are worried about is, you know, inflation rising because of Trump's tariffs. You are taxing imports. Trump has, uh, during his election campaign, talked about 10 to 15% across the board tariffs. It is certainly going to, stroke inflation in the short term at least. So when his plans really go forward, Indian products are going to suffer because these labor intensive sectors like textile, like leather, the margins are really low. Mm, the profit margins and the earnings of of people, I mean, it's really low. It's not like an Apple iPhone, where you are earning a lot of money. So that is the thing. That is why Indian laborers and manufacturing sector will suffer because of high inflation if he were to do what he has said in his election campaign.
Okay. Now, to sum this conversation up, why this trade with US matters for India?
Okay. you know India is, again, it's a developing nation. We have um, a lot of trade partners. One is China, and and one is US, among others. These two are our biggest partners. I mean, about $120 billion worth of bilateral trade takes place, with each of these countries. But the difference here is that when we talk about America, we are talking about a trade advantage. We sell more products to America than we buy. It's a America is the only country where we are able to do that. um, our manufacturing has not reached to to a level where we could export products elsewhere. But with America, we have a trade advantage. We are earning forex. A lot of our businesses, a lot of our manufacturing depends on that market, and that is why America is very important for us. Unlike China, we import a lot from China. There's more than 100 billion worth of products that we import from China. They earn more than we do. So if our biggest source of earning um, faces a lot of disruption, is going to hurt. Having said that, India is not the, you know, it's not the old India. We are very well diversified. We have exports to Europe. We have exports to, UAE. We have exports, a bit of exports to China and elsewhere. So there's a lot of diversification. Changes in, rampant rapid changes in American trade policy is going to hurt. But as we have seen in the past, trade finds a solution. Trade always finds a solution. So um, there's a lot of uh, you know thinking that our government will have to do if more tariffs are imposed on India.
Thank you so much, Ravi, for this conversation. And if you like this video, keep watching the Indian Express for such explainers.